YouTube, what's going on? YouTube, what's going on? What is happening, man? Of course, it's your guy, one more time, DEDRICKHICKSJR, and I'm back with another fragrance video. Smell good, family. Hopefully everyone is doing well, doing great, doing fantastic. Positive energy, positive vibes only. That's how we get down here in this channel, man. Positive vibes only. All right, so fun video today, at least I think so. But hype fragrances, it's always a constant conversation in fragcom. Hype this, hype that. Did this live up to the hype? This didn't live up to the hype. And I got 10 fragrances here today that at one point in time, of course I didn't have all of these at one point, but I was intrigued, influenced, put on the road to discovering, is this fragrance all that it's hyped up to be? So 10 fragrances that definitely lived up to the hype. And let's go ahead and tap in because I'm really excited to kind of go down memory lane here. All right, so up first, a fragrance. When I first got into the fragcom space, of course I knew of Tom Ford and different things that Tom Ford have to offer, but you know, before really getting into fragcom, Noir, the Noir line, the Noir Extreme line was something that I just didn't have that much knowledge of. And then I started seeing the conversation, seeing the videos, hearing the talks, and this one definitely lived up to the hype from the house of Tom Ford. Of course, we're talking Noir Extreme. Noir Extreme from the house of Tom Ford. Like I said, getting into the fragcom space here on YouTube, this was a fragrance that just really stood out that a lot of reviewers and a lot of you guys were talking about in comments. And boy, is it beautiful. This is a sweet and spicy masterpiece, man. It's a legend in the community. It has this interesting note of coffee dessert, coffee note that is in this fragrance, and it really shines. Get this nutty, sweet layer to the fragrance. Definitely suited alongside with the cardamom, vanilla, and just some really beautiful notes in this fragrance, and it definitely lived up to the hype. Date night legend, intimately certified. This fragrance can just do a lot of things, and it's a very sexy scent. All in all, a sexy scent that definitely lived up to the hype, in my opinion. I have a bottle, matter of fact, I have two, and this one is really good. And from the house of Tom Ford, we're talking Noir Extreme. Tom Ford Noir Extreme. All right, up next, man, did this ever live up to the hype? Again, in the fragcom space, of course, I've seen this fragrance. I've saw it so many different times, but never heard a conversation about it until I got into fragcom. And I've been doing videos now and content for a little over 3 years, maybe going on 4. So that should tell you something. But this is a, you know, top 10 in my collection, and my wife absolutely loves this stuff, and so do I. From the house of Rabanne, we have 1 Million Lucky. Absolutely, this was a fragrance that lived up to the hype, no doubt about it. Plum, hazelnut, plum and hazelnut really feature here. The note of honey in here as well. This stuff is fantastic. It is top 10 in my collection. It is just, I don't know, just everything about it just kind of suits me, and I love how it smells. I love how it performs in the cooler weather. Date night beast for sure. I remember Valentine's Day specifically, me and my wife were at the dinner, and the waitress said, "Pardon me, I must ask, somebody is smelling fantastic," and my wife points to me, and she was smelling good too. But as her being a fan of this, I guess that led her to pointing to me. But this is one for sure that is absolutely great to me, the best of the line to me, and it's not even close to me. All right, so 1 Million Lucky definitely lived up to the hype as far as I'm concerned. Heard a lot of conversation about it once I got into this space, and I still wear it, and I will wear it, and I would want to always have this in my collection. I got a 200 ml on deck once this is over. We're about halfway done with this, but it's just one of those ones I just want for life. From the house of Paco Rabanne, now Rabanne, we have 1 Million Lucky. 1 Million Lucky for sure. All right, up next, my first introduction into Iris, this makeup baggy Iris conversation I was hearing about. and this brand and this line, but this was my first experience and it lived up to the hype immediately. From the house of Dior, we have Dior Homme Intense. Dior Homme Intense definitely lived up to the hype. I remember getting this and wearing it just all the time, the year that I got it. Oh God, it's so nice. It's so nice. The note of iris is the note here, the fantasy, makeup baggy, sweet, powdery, beautiful note of iris, very sexy, very confident. There's a lot of positives with this fragrance, and I kept hearing everybody on and on talk about intense parfum, intense parfum, and they were right about both. Stellar from the house, stellar from the line, definitely lived up to the hype back then and even right now. And as the conversation of Dior Intense arrive around this time of the year, this had to be in the video because, again, around the time when I got into Fragcom, this was on everybody's top 10. Everybody was recommending this. I got my hands on it and agreed. From the house of Dior, definitely lived up to the hype. Dior Homme Intense. Dior Homme Intense for sure. Up next, a discontinued beauty, and definitely saw a lot of conversation about this. And this line is a very popular line, and at one point in time, even before I got into the YouTube space, I owned a bottle from this line. But this one right here, it sucks that it's discontinued, but it is one of the better coffee fragrances that you could ever get your nose on. From the house of Ralph Lauren, we have Polo Red Extreme. Polo Red Extreme. Sucks that this is discontinued. Blood orange, coffee are really the stars of this fragrance. Sweet and spicy elements all throughout this thing. And again, this is another one I got so fortunate. Matter of fact, when I got this, I think the discontinued conversations had just began, and then next thing you know, all you could get is like these these 1.5 mls, like 30 ml bottles. My dad was in town and he got his nose on this and he wanted to get him a bottle. He said, son, I can't find a bottle. So I'm online looking like, well, dang, I just got my bottle not too long ago. Well, the expedite just grabbing of this fragrance had already began. So we were able to find him a 30 ml. He still has it. His collection is, very stout. So he'll be able to keep that 30 ml for quite some time. And of course, I can always, if he runs out of that, I can always shoot him some juice out of this 100 ml. But I will say it sucks that this is discontinued. The conversation of it was very wide. A couple of friends of mine were talking about this fragrance, and I lucked up and got a really good price on this. I forgot where I got it from, but I know you can't get this on discounters. eBay for sure, probably a little bit pricey, but I haven't seen this talked about in quite some time. But around the time that there was talk, I was interested, and the hype was real, and this passed all the hype questions for sure. From the house of Ralph Lauren, the now discontinued Polo Red Extreme. Love those bottles, man. I love that black and red sequence. Really, really dope. Up next, before I was able to purchase the OG, this is what I stood on. But this particular flanker was getting all the love. They were telling me to throw away the others. This is the one you need. If you get this one, then you might never want to get the original. That wasn't true for me. But I wore this every week for a year straight. From the house of Armaf, we're talking Club de Nuit Intense Man limited edition parfum. Here it is, probably the most talked about, most heralded outside of the original EDT from this line. And of course, it is a great take on Creed's Aventus, okay? The lemon in here is smoothed out, the oak moss, the birch, everything in here that makes up Aventus is present. It's just a much smoother representation from the EDT, from the EDP, from all of them. If I had to choose one out of them all, I would go with the limited edition parfum. I wore this for every week for a year straight when I first got this bottle. And I wish I could see where I am. This bottle definitely feels a bit lighter than obviously when I first got it. So I would love to see how much I have left in here. But besides the point, the hype of the conversation, and this was more expensive than the EDT, more expensive than the EDP, and a lot of people was like, nah, it's cool, but I can truly say There's a quality difference here, and just a better overall experience than any other that are out there from this line for sure. And the hype was definitely real. When I got it in, I was really impressed and went on to wearing this every week for a year straight. And I wear it from time to time here and there these days. I'll never get rid of this. It's just, and I always keep recommending it. And this is just one that definitely lived up to the hype for sure. From the house of Armaf, we're talking Club de Nuit, limited edition parfum. Limited edition parfum. All right. Up next, I was looking for this fragrance for so long. And I got lucky on a restock or a shock drop or whatever it was on FragranceNet about 2 years ago. Yeah, about 2 years ago, there was nowhere where you could find this fragrance online. And the conversation was running wild in the community. You can get this more available nowadays, but around the time I got my bottle, no way. What am I talking about? From the house of Prada, we have Prada L'Homme Intense. Prada L'Homme Intense. L Intense. Beautiful powdery iris, bolder take on the DNA. But this stuff is really, really good. And when I got it in, I wore it 2 days back to back. It was during the cooler months. At this time, this is a rare gem to get your hands on. So I was super excited to get it because for a while you just couldn't get it. I think, like I said, nowadays it's more readily available, but this is along the powdery iris take. It's sweet, it's heavy. That makeup baggy iris just gives it this just unique play. This stuff is when I want to say unique play, there's a lot of iris fragrances out there, but just due to the powdery, it's like a powdery dryness here with the iris, vanilla. It's just one that works well for the cooler months. You have your original, you have Prada L'Homme Low, and then you have the Intense, and it performs like an Intense. This right here gives an incredible performance. So I was really glad to have it, and it definitely was worth the hype for sure. This is one of the more hyped up fragrances around the time that I got into this space, and I'm glad that I have it because it definitely lived up to the hype. Blind bought it. Was not concerned with any repercussions of not liking it because I kind of like, I gotta like it. Everybody's talking about this. Well, luckily I did. From the house of Prada, we have Prada L'Homme Intense. Prada L'Homme Intense. All right. Up next, this was a matter of fact, when I first got on to watching videos from Chaos, Big Beard B, Ross, my man from TLTG Reviews. This fragrance was always in somebody's thumbnail and always being talked about. And boy, when I first got my nose on it, I was like, yes, sir, where have you been all my life? From the house of Mancera, we have the original Cedrat Boise. As you can see, the wearing of this is real. I love Cedrat Boise. In line in what Creed Aventus does, but these do two totally different things. Citrus, woody, a little bit leathery, a little bit, this it has a silky, smooth vibe to it. Works for any and everything. The hype on this still to this day is out there. But when I first tapped in, I was like, what is a Mancera? I had no idea what Mancera was, or Cedrat, nothing. But I was so intrigued by the conversation and recommendations every day. Every day somebody was talking about this, and I went ahead and pulled the trigger on this, and I'm really glad to have this. I'll always have this. I have the Intense as well, but this right here, the hype, probably since I've been in this YouTube space, the most hyped fragrance that probably number one on my list. The conversations about Cedrat Boise were wild and still are. But it met all the hyped energies and questions that I had before I experienced it. This stuff is incredible. From the house of Mancera, we're talking Cedrat Boise. Super, super hyped fragrance for sure, but it's definitely worth it. Up next, another hyped fragrance. When I first got into the community, it was deemed the everyday shower gel fragrance. Everyday blue shower gel fragrance could work for anything in any situation or whatever. And it's correct. I got about less than half of this bottle left because this is another fragrance that I wore all the time when I first got it in. From the house of Versace, we have Dylan Blue. Dylan Blue, as you can see, maybe you can see the juice moving around, but this is more than halfway done. And again, this was another one that I was wearing every single week. So I was wearing it to the office, and from the office I started wearing it to the gym, turned into just an everyday running errands type of vibe. There was no situation that I was not wearing Versace Dylan Blue. This is kind of like a dark shower jelly blue fragrance. Has a little bit of a spice texture to it as well, fresh spicy tones. And it just works. It still works to this day. There's nothing that I can say wrong about this fragrance. Nothing. And as a matter of fact, it might be Versace's right after Arrows. This might be the most popular. It might be the most popular outside of the original Arrows. Like most talked about. Let's not say pop. I guess most talked about, popular, same thing, right? But I know it was hella talked about when I was first getting started in the Fragcom, and I bought mine off Amazon. I was looking on Amazon before I knew about Fragrance Net and Fragrance Buy and all of that. This was one of my earlier pickups as a reviewer when I was in that space, and it's just really good. It's really good, still good to this day. I haven't worn it in a while, but I'm definitely going to revisit it to the office for sure because it's still good and gets the job done, and it smells great. From the house of Versace, one of the more hype fragrances that I've ever seen, we have Dylan Blue. Dylan Blue, definitely a classic in the community. All right, 2 more left to discuss, and I smelled both of these fragrances on a What's in the Bag episode on a live stream. And the hype on this fragrance in particular was running really, really rampant. Sold out every time I went to go see what was up with it. And then I was blessed with a decant from my guy, Jared the Bishop Miller. And on a live stream, I about lost my mind. From the house of, golly, I forgot the name of Scented Woods. Yeah, Scented Woods. They don't even have, the House of Scented Woods, we have Plum and Cognac. Plum and Cognac, this is my custom bottle. Got the white and gold. But the stars of this, Plum, booze. The Plum here is so dark, so ripe, the Plum itself is boozy. The boozy aspect, I can't even talk straight, I'm stuttering. The boozy aspect comes at you in 2 different ways here. But the Plum is so dark. It's so dark, man. Boozy elements, the sweetness in here as well. This stuff is amazing. Top 2 Plum fragrances that I've ever smelled in my life. Plum Yapanea is number 1. But this is up there. This is fantastic stuff, man. Fantastic. And just losing my mind on the live stream. My wife ran in and she smelled it and she was like, oh my God, on the live stream. I got my arm out here and she's smelling it. And it's just one of those ones for sure. 10 out of 10. Hype was justified. And it took me forever to get a bottle because it stays sold out. Even now, it's probably sold out right now. I'll put the link in the description, but it's probably sold out because there's a lot of hype behind this, and rightfully so. One of the best Plum experiences ever from the house of Scent of Woods, I believe. We got Plum and Cognac. Plum and Cognac. I know my bottle's classic with my studio light, but this stuff is incredible. And last but not least, another fragrance that I was fortunate to smell live on a What's in the Bag episode on a live stream. And I had been hearing about this fragrance for about a year. I was just a year in before I started live streaming. A little over a year, but I've always seen this fragrance. As a matter of fact, before me and Ross became really good friends, he was the one that was always talking about try for Bacchus. And then to finally get my nose on it, my God, from the house of Argos, we're talking Triumph of Bacchus. To finally get my nose on this fragrance was almost an out-of-body experience. Almost, even now, that white peach and tobacco and that rum, woo! Christian does a great job, man, with just so many beautiful offerings from the house. But this right here, this is at the top of the food chain. It just is, and it's so great. Samples are available. I don't recommend blind buying, but if you're into tobacco, and you haven't got your nose on this, my goodness, is this the one? Use my code DEDRICK10 over at Argos, save you 10% on samples and full bottles. But this, I just think everybody who's into perfumery should just smell this at least once and then go from there. It smells so good to me that I, was wanting to grab this bottle immediately. And when I had the opportunity to do so, I was very happy to add this to my collection. And the hype is indeed real, and the hype is justified with this beauty right here from the house of Argos. We have Trial for Bacchus. Trial for Bacchus, the hype indeed super real for sure. All right, so there you have it with today's video. Those are 10 fragrances that definitely lived up to the hype. A lot of conversations around me before I acquired these and purchased these bottles, and just super duper excited to just kind of walk down memory lane and share my story and the whatever the situation or time frame was when I was getting ready to acquire these fragrances based off pretty much other people's opinions. And in this space, a lot of that goes down. A lot of people, talking about a lot of different things, and then you guys get inspired, including me, get inspired to kind of see what's up. And I'm very glad that all 10 of these worked out. I've had some that haven't worked out, not many, but I've had some that haven't worked out, and it just goes with it when you're a blind buy warrior. And I am indeed that, but don't blind buy. Sample first. Sample. All right. So let me know some of your guys' most hyped fragrances. What lived up to the hype? What didn't live up to the hype? Let me know down below in the comments. Very curious and interested to see what you guys have to say about that. All right. So until next time, be cool, be safe, take care of yourselves. Y'all know what it is around here. Always positive energy, positive vibes. Always. It's always that, man. So keep it going for sure. Happy holidays to everybody. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, peace, peace. Be cool. Splack it up, splack it down, splack that thing all around. And remember, what you put out into this world, it's exactly what you are going to get back. That's for sure. Peace, y'all. Splack it.